I asked Javon a similar question to this, but from a coach's perspective, when you're recruiting a guy like him that's played a couple of years of college football as a point guard,
Yeah.
and has been a point guard basically his whole life, is there a different language you can speak to a guy that understands being a point guard because you kind of thought that way yourself as a player?
Yeah, there's definitely an element to how you think the game, how you view the position, what you feel the responsibilities are. And there was alignment there with him early on that I felt really comfortable being more aggressive recruiting him. A lot of names float around and get thrown around and are suggested to you. And obviously you got more data in real college games and stuff like that you feel like will be able to really translate depending on how it's done or not. But definitely to answer your question directly, there's definitely a way that you speak to a guy like him. It's a little bit more comforting, honestly, than sometimes maybe even a high school kid who they'll nod in agreement with you or say yes sir, but you get them here and it's like, I'm pretty sure we talked about this.
What was yesterday's practice like? Just coming back, after having an off day like Sunday, and coming back and trying to regroup. What was yesterday's practice like?
It was game prep. Most of these practices this time of year, we're not reinventing the wheel at this time of the season. We're also not trying to drive them into the ground physically. It's more about staying sharp physically, but also just more the mental preparation. Playing a team we haven't played, so different from playing a team second time this time of year. A team we don't really have a ton of familiarity with, although we played a couple of these guys last year in the Bahamas. So we have an idea of their style, but really just getting ourselves in game prep and what it's going to take on both ends of the floor to have the most success.
I asked on Saturday how you thought some of the younger guys might respond after a close overtime loss like that. How have you noticed they've been able to kind of come back?
Yeah, I was surprised how many of them were still carrying the emotion of it on Monday, particularly because a couple of them played well. Jemiah and Eric, that they still had a kind of bitter feeling of where they ended. Jemiah more so. And I'll keep proud of him. I don't know if you guys heard. 82-81, defense here. That's something we talk about being able to draw back on experiences. He's never been there, never. Felt bad, and I hope we can use that throughout his career to remind him of the urgency on every possession. Missing a free throw, or throwing a lazy pass, it could happen in an instant. And so I felt pretty pleased by the way they showed up in terms of their mindset. I do think we have this wasn't the case probably a month ago, we have a confident group that feels like they can continue to build on some of the recent success, but you still got to go and play the game.
Had you sensed that confidence building in this group?
Yeah. As funny as it sounds, and I may have referenced this time before, the second half at Houston, the game was fairly decided. Kelvin's technical foul rant kind of opened up the door. We didn't really capitalize on it, but what did happen late is we fought really hard to not really win the game, because we didn't really ever put ourselves in position to win in the second half, in all honesty. But we didn't lay down either. We showed some real fight against a team that makes you fight or quit, and we responded with fight. And then we were able to carry that. Obviously, we didn't play well from an execution standpoint our next game, but I think you saw some of the same kind of fight that we put up defensively in our first game down in Norman. And then we're able to obviously build on that and get some wins. So, I think I see a team that's growing in confidence, that's growing in their belief and their ability to have success together and what that entails from game to game.
It's a lot of tape to go through. What have you seen from UCF so far?
You know what? I said this about Cincinnati, and I mean it in the most respectful way. Like, them and Cincinnati and Central Florida look to me as if they've been in the league with Houston for the last 5 years, and trying to figure out how do you beat the best team in our league. They've tried to build their rosters in a way that would reflect that. They're big, they're physical, they're athletic, they're old, and so that's what you see. We saw that a little bit with Cincinnati last week, so I see similar type. They got some really athletic wings. They They've got some physical bigs, and they really are really good defensively and on the glass. And those are areas that we've got to continue to evolve in ourselves as we learn how to win in this league, because Houston was obviously prepared to come in this league and have a great level of success. So if teams are trying to beat them, it translates to having success in this conference, not just in the American.
A lot of people in just college basketball this week have been talking about like court storming. Is that something that makes college basketball unique, or an unnecessary danger?
I'm more on the second side. I've been a part of games where the court was stormed several times, and I think the only time I was ever fearful on the basketball court was when I was on the court as a player during a court storm. It happened in my first conference game as a freshman in South Carolina. We literally won the game on a buzzer beater against, I don't know what they were ranked, but Florida was really good during that time. We have a kid come off the bench who hadn't played all game and make a three, and we win. And it wasn't like you see now though. It was a little bit more tame, but there was a pileup of the players, and I got caught up in the pileup, and that was not very comforting or fun. And I think it's evolved to where it's more of it's kind of a badge of honor to have your phone out there with you, and people aren't paying attention like maybe they did 10 years ago. I want to say 10, it was longer than that. But yeah, it's probably gone a little bit too far, distinctive recklessness. And again, it happens in the street. I think there's a young lady who, right here on the corner of Duck and Hall of Fame last week, got hit by a car walking with her phone. I mean, we don't need that. I mean, there's a reason that you don't see that in any real other area of athletics. I mean, I was watching, I think Van Pelt did a thing on it last night on his show. He showed Larry Bird like knocking people out during a court storm in the NBA game in like the 80s, and a baseball player trying to round the bases after a home run. Like literally, like that is not a good thing. It's a reason we don't do it. And so yeah, it's probably past due to have the conversation. But obviously, when something happens to a high-profile program and a kid like that, it brings more light to it. I'm glad we're having a conversation, but it's something we need to address for sure.
I want to go back to Javon for a couple more. One, I was asking him about Indiana, and I think about Indiana when people like you and I were young,
sure,
and it was legit.
Oh yeah.
Does it still have that reputation when you're
Are you talking about the university?
No, I'm sorry. The state of high school ball.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's an element when you talk about youth basketball and basketball, like meaning something in a state, meaning different things in different places. Like in Texas, football is king, and Indiana basketball's king, Kentucky basketball's king. Like a lot of those Midwest states, where I think in the state of Kentucky, there's still one like state champion in all of the state, and I think they still play that Rupp, and it's like a big deal. But you get that vibe. And the Hoosier State also. So yeah, there's an element to having guys from there that learn that basketball is really important. And if you play a certain way. You don't turn the ball over. You take good shots. You're a good teammate. And all those things still ring true.
And do some of those translate to Javon?
Yeah. I mean, I think he's a very prideful guy. And you look at his assist turnover for his career. It's always been pretty good. Always shot a pretty good percentage, mostly because he takes good shots. He plays with a great sense of pride and having his team be successful. And those are earmarks of a really good point guard, but also a lot of kids from that state.
Is he a pretty heady player?
Yeah. He's very, very cerebral. I wish he was a little bit more vocal, but it's something that's more learned now than ever before. But we'll get him there. He's a kid he wants to lead. He wants to help his teammates as much as, learn from him as much as possible. But there's still an element of comfort in challenging your peers that's a little bit lost in this generation of just kids in general. So he'll get better there. I'm confident in that.
What do you want to see these next 2 weeks of the regular season to kind of set you up for postseason and beyond?
I want to see us continue to grow. I still don't think we've played our best basketball. We've done some really good things from game to game. We've had some much better offensive performances here in the last few, but putting it all together, defensively, offensively, having some bench production and some starting production. So just watching the progression of from where we are today, like on March 9th or whatever it is when we play our last regular season game, are we better then than we already were? Are we better today than we were Saturday? Just keeping that mindset is the way we approach it.
How do you kind of grade that besides just like, the win-loss column?
Yeah, I think that's where there's a little bit of a disconnect. Like the result kind of is a product of the process, right? We're gonna have a couple of practices. Guys got to make sure they continue to show up to the gym, take care of their bodies, rest, eat, hydrate, all those things. Like those are the things I'm monitoring daily. And then I think the product of that is being able to perform in a way that gives you a chance to win. It doesn't always go that way. You're not going to shoot great all the time, but you can play with great effort. You can play with great energy. You can be a good teammate. If you play 30 minutes, be as productive as you can. If you play 3 minutes, be as productive as you can in those 3 minutes and be a great teammate for the other 37. So those are the things that I really try to focus on and allow the results to be just kind of a byproduct of that.
Is it harder to kind of showcase that and show that you're seeing results, even if you're not seeing wins, you're seeing the results, you're seeing you're whether it's defensive thing and offensive thing, you're better now than you were in November to these younger guys that are used to winning and stuff in high school?
Yeah, I mean, but not because they don't want to understand it, just because they're inundated with information that tells them the opposite all the time. Because everything tells them that the result is really the only thing that matters. And the result matters, no question about it. But there's a process of learning how to win that you can't skip. Like I said, Jamira's never been in that situation. He was in the other day where he plays really good defense on the guy, and the guy's good enough to still make the shot. So I want him to think what better could I have done in some other possessions. Not just that one. And for all of our guys, can we avoid the missed blackout in the free throw? That's 2 points. We lost by 2. All right. Can we avoid not executing the end of our half play and not getting a great shot? That's 2 points maybe we could have had. Obviously, the free throw. Like, there's so many other things that you want to make sure that we talk about controlling the controllables. And that's really the message that we give.
Can a performance like Eric had the other day be something that opens the door for someone, or is it just kind of a good day along the journey?
No, I mean, if handled the right way, those are things that you want to build on, right? Like again, the challenge always is what is he hearing about how that happened, why it happened. It wasn't just because he woke up and decided to play well. He had a couple of really good days of practice. He played within himself. He didn't get 20 points on 18 shots. He attacked when he needed to attack. He went into the post when he had a smaller guy on him. He went to the offensive glass. He passed the ball when he wasn't open. And I think just learning that and being comfortable, like it doesn't have to be loud and it doesn't have to be volume, but the efficiency is what we really are going for at this level. And when you have a bunch of guys that he continues to play with over his career that can bring other things to the table that enhance the different skills of his game, he'll be able to be an even more effective player because he'll have a great understanding of how to value each part of the game that he does do well. I think early on he was putting himself in a pressured mindset that I got to prove to people I can shoot threes. Well, you can make threes, but you don't have to live there. And take one a game, take a good one. If it goes in and you're open again, take another one. But what happens is you take a really good one and make it, it opens up the driving opportunities. And so just learning that is, again, some of these young guys just haven't been through that, and they think they have to do all things at all times in order to appease, what the expectations might be coming in.
And then, Coach, so obviously going back to the question, do you think NIL has to play a part in it? Is the reason why we should stop it?
I haven't really thought about that element of it, to be perfectly honest. So I probably need some time to think about it. But this shit is it's really not safe for the fans. Even. I mean, it's sort of reckless the way this stuff's happening. And again, I don't know if I've ever seen one happen. That seemed like it happened like so fast the other day. Like, I don't know what the preparation was, and this is not me criticizing Wake Forest because I don't know what happened or how they got to it. It seemed like before anybody could even realize it, there were 20,000 people seemingly just running into each other. And so, again, most of them have their phones and are looking at themselves.
Right.
They have no idea what else is going on around them. So, I mean, regardless of the NIL, which I haven't considered, it just seems really, really reckless. I mean, just the way it's happening now.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mike.